Steph Curry and LeBron James, two of the greatest players in NBA history. And the relationship they've built is so important that you really can't understand one's career without the other. What makes their relationship so interesting is that their backgrounds cannot be any more different, but their legacies ultimately so similar. From LeBron being born into a situation where he felt his love and passion for basketball was not only a means for happiness, but a way to save his family, especially his mom, Gloria Marie James, out of poverty. But when it comes to Steph Curry, it couldn't be any more the opposite. Steph was born to be the son of Del Curry, a successful NBA player, and where LeBron found desperation as his motivation, Curry was able to leverage his networking and the opportunities that being an NBA player's son came with. His pure obsession and his opportunity to chase his dream was the foundation to which Steph Curry was able to become the greatest shooter of all time. And to think it began for both of them in the same hospital in Akron, Ohio. But before their historical rivalry really could blossom, both would have to travel their own separate paths to greatness, to the top of the NBA. And once again could not have looked any different from one another. LeBron, the prodigy who was destined for greatness, and Steph, the underdog who defied expectations. LeBron James, coming out of St. Vincent St. Mary High School, was one of the most talked about and hyped up situations we've ever seen in sports culture. And it's very possible we'll never see anything like it again. With the explosion of the internet just happening, LeBron was getting NBA level exposure into his high school basketball career.
Shaq shows up to your game. I don't know, that was just wild to me.
Every game that we have is sold out. You know, I can remember my freshman year, it was only 300 people in the stands, not knowing nothing about us. But now it's sold out every night, 5,000 to 6,000. And, but I'm liking it.
To his game against Carmelo Anthony at Oak Hill, to being put on the front of Sports Illustrated, LeBron James was truly being advertised as the next Michael Jordan of basketball. We really had never seen this much anticipation for any type of player before. Drink your water. To which no one's surprise, in 2003 was drafted #1 overall, which was considered quite arguably the greatest draft of all time, with players such as Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and also the greatest bust of all time. LeBron had entered the NBA with the red carpet at his feet, but for Steph Curry, again, it was quite the opposite. With Steph Curry being ranked the 16th player in North Carolina and the 60th in the nation, his future in the NBA was nowhere near certain. Whereas LeBron could have picked really any school in the nation and been their #1 option, Steph could not find a team that was willing to take him on with a full scholarship. With not a single D1 school offering him said scholarship, including Virginia Tech, both his parents' alma mater, Steph ended up having to pick between Winthrop, Virginia Commonwealth, and Davidson. And with Steph Curry understanding that he's a smaller guard, he knew he would need all the playing time he could get, as much time as he could in front of NBA scouts. And with Steph seeing Davidson as the best opportunity to do so, Curry joined Davidson in 2006. And ultimately his decision would pay off, as he would go on to lead Davidson to their greatest days in their NCAA history, including one of the most impressive March Madness runs we've ever seen. This is really where LeBron and Steph's relationship really started.
Hey.
See, Curry had this habit of going off whenever LeBron was in the building. And on December 6, 2008, when LeBron visited Charlotte where Davidson was playing the Wolfpack, Steph Curry ended up finishing with 44 points, 3 assists, 3 steals, and the W. This game actually got so much publicity that it made its way around ESPN the next day, and in the 2000s, the way to go viral in sports was to make it on SportsCenter. But this wasn't the only time LeBron was actually in attendance for one of Steph's biggest games. On March 28, 2008, Davidson was playing Wisconsin in the Sweet 16. And this ended up being one of the most dominant games Curry and Davidson ever put together. Curry finished with 33 points and 4 assists, winning 73 to 56. LeBron had no idea he was scouting the one person who would stand in his way from being the undisputed GOAT of all time. And Steph had no idea he was being watched by the person that would ultimately define his career. But once both LeBron and Steph had gotten into the league, their journey to the top once again could not have been any different. LeBron out the gate was the leading player on a Cavs team that was openly opposed to having such a young player as the #1 option. Before the draft in 2003, future teammates like Carlos Boozer and Darius Miles were openly discussing how they had no faith in LeBron.
I don't think you can really just bring a high school player in and really just think your team gonna really turn around like that. You know what I'm saying? He can just hop on our bandwagon.
What?
Almost every one of my channel's viewers is not subscribed to the channel. Do me a huge favor and hit that subscription button. We're trying to get monetized. my dog and I. But by his 4th year, LeBron had drugged arguably the worst roster in history to the finals. There was no player in the NBA that needed convincing that LeBron was now one of the best players in the league. While there are many that would point out the fact that LeBron did lose this finals, even the greatest LeBron hater has to admit, when you look at the supporting cast of LeBron versus Duncan, it makes you wonder what kind of basketball they were playing over there in the Eastern Conference. Steph, on the other hand, was faced with a completely different scenario. He was drafted onto a team that was already saturated at guard. The Warriors currently had Monta Ellis, who had a very similar skill set to Steph Curry. And this is one of the very few similarities that LeBron and Steph's careers had that parallel, as early on they both had teammates that clearly did not want them on their team. It was absolutely no secret Ellis felt insulted when the Warriors drafted Curry. So not only was Steph's opportunity to carve out minutes in jeopardy, he was also facing health issues as his ankles were consistently sidelining him. And even though these ankle issues would end up being a major issue in his career, they would ultimately be one of the reasons the Warriors dynasty could even happen to begin with. On March 3rd, 2012, when Monta Ellis, Epke Udoh, and Kwame Brown got traded to the Bucks in exchange for Andrew Bogut and Steven Jackson, it really should have been Steph in Monte's place. But after the Bucks doctors looked more into Steph's ankles, they did not feel comfortable trading for him. So it ended up being Monta Ellis instead. Think about how different history would be if that trade had gone down. Do the Bucks still draft Giannis? And if so, does Giannis become the player he is today? How many championships do Steph and Giannis win together? But it was from here that their seeds were planted for the future. The Warriors finished that 2012 season 23-43, but in the following 2013 year, with all their new pieces put together for a full training camp, they finished 47-35, which was good enough for the 6th seed in the Western Conference, where they ended up losing to the Spurs in the Western Conference semifinals, who would then lose to the Miami Heat and LeBron James. But this would be the last time this decade LeBron ever got to the finals without having to deal with Steph Curry, as LeBron went on to lose 4-1 in the 2014 finals against the Spurs, which of course set up his return to Cleveland in 2015. And this is the year their relationship truly develops, as this would mark the first of 4 years in a row these two teams would play each other in the finals, something that's never happened in history. This was the year for LeBron to come back and rectify his mistakes when he originally left. This was also the year that the homegrown Warriors were ready to announce themselves to the league as they finished the regular season 67-15. Both the Cavs and the Warriors buzzed through their competition in the playoffs, as the Warriors posted a 12-3 record entering the finals, as the Cavs were right ahead of them at 12-2. Unfortunately though, for the Cavs, in the first round, Kevin Love injured his shoulder against the Celtics in arguably one of the dirtiest plays in NBA history by Kelly Olynyk. And then in game 1 of the finals, Kyrie ended up going out to an ankle injury and missed the rest of the series. But even with these massive losses, LeBron and the Cavs still put up a fight, as the first 4 games of the series went back and forth, with the Warriors winning games 1 and 4 while the Cavs took 2 and 3. It was actually game 4 that swung the entire series. This is where Steve Kerr infamously put in Andre Iguodala into the starting lineup to help slow down LeBron, who still ended up averaging 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists, which somehow won Iggy the Finals MVP. This is something that is still highly debated today, as Steph Curry was highly criticized for not winning that Finals MVP in 2015.
Did you feel like you deserved MVP in that finals?
Of course, I feel like I deserve it for sure.
As many believed he was snubbed, with averages of 26 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. Should have taken him home the MVP, as LeBron still ended up having a monster series with Iggy guarding him. And if this series was any indication for what was to come in this rivalry, then we were in for quite the treat.